Hope you enjoyed the little bit of music there, well, just to get everybody happy and in the mood for today. So firstly, can I just check that you can all hear me okay? Can you put your hands up if you can hear me? Your virtual hands, that is. Thank you very much. Excellent. And can you all see my slides on the screen? Again, hands up again, please, if you can see my slides. Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. So when you start to think of your telephone as a link between your customers' wallets and your bank account, you begin to understand the importance of using it effectively. Even the most basic of tasks, like how you answer the phone, can and does dramatically impact on a customer's perception of your skill, your worth, your prices, and your overall professionalism. So today, you'll be learning techniques for getting your prospects to commit to buy right there on the phone, okay? Think of how many marketing pounds are wasted because the calls from prospects were handled badly, or even worse, not handled at all. If you've ever had a customer say, thanks, I'll call you back, your time is going to be well spent today. Now, to give you a bit of an example of this, I've just made a few phone calls this morning to various businesses. And those businesses indeed could have benefited from listening to this webinar. I had a number of different things happen. So firstly, a couple of businesses I called. All I got was the engaged tone. Yeah, no voicemail, nobody answered the phone. Nobody said, thank you very much, your call is important to us, please leave a message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The second thing that happened to me, I spoke to somebody, they answered their phone. It wasn't the business owner. I asked to speak to the business owner. They said to me, who's calling? So I told them. They said, what's it about? I said, it's a personal matter. And they said, well, don't tell me then, and hung up on me. These are the type of experiences that we see all the time from numerous businesses out there. The things that I'm going to share with you today are just so simple, but so many businesses forget them and don't use them. Okay? So look, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Simon Marshall, and I'm a business growth specialist and executive coach. I change lives for the better. I help businesses succeed. But most of all, I help my clients reach their full potential and achieve their dreams. And I do this using a simple and systemized approach, which benefits businesses with more time, better teams, and more money. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to think about is I want you to get the most out of your learning today. Now, as I mentioned, it may be that as we go through this webinar today, you might be thinking these words to yourself. I know that, Simon. Why are you telling me that? I know that. Now, for those of you that have got teenage children, you might hear this quite often when you're telling them off. Yeah, I know. Okay. But what that does, it closes down the possibility that you might learn anything. Okay. Now, what I'm going to be talking about today isn't rocket science, but as I say, it's surprising how many businesses fail to put these simple things into practice. Okay. So if you find yourself using the words or thinking to yourself, I know that, stop yourself for a second and ask yourself instead, isn't that interesting? And by asking yourself that question, isn't that interesting? You start to open up the possibility that you could learn something from what you're hearing today, what you're seeing today. You start to ask yourself questions like, I know that. Am I doing that? Why aren't I doing that? How could I do that better? And they're the type of things that will come to mind. So just to repeat, if you find yourself saying, I know to yourself, change that. Isn't that interesting? So what I'm going to focus on today is I'm going to focus on inbound telephone calls. And then in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to do another webinar that's going to be based on outbound telephone calls. Okay, so today we're just going to focus on people that are phoning us up to inquire about our products and services. So let's have a look at the big picture first of all. The significance of first impressions are as important over the phone as they are in person. In fact, because ending a conversation is so effortless over the phone, it could be argued that they're even more important than face-to-face impressions. Yeah, because with face-to-face, you've got a whole range of ways in which you can conduct and present yourself, including things like body language and eye contact. Okay, when you talk and listen, you might give friendly rituals such as handshakes, the way that you're dressed, and so many more things. But on the phone, people can't see you. So you're not as lucky to be able to use those other things. You have to use your voice to portray the way you wish to come across. Okay, and that's it. That's all you've got. So therefore, the way you answer a call is crucial because it can set the tone for the whole phone call and determine how customers perceive your business. For most businesses, it's their shop window. So getting it right is important. Now, Maya Angelou, the American poet and civil rights activist, once said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And that's what we're looking to do whenever we meet people face to face, whenever we're speaking to them on the telephone. But as I say, more important on the telephone, it's the way we make them feel. So I've got a question for you, first of all. Okay. What are your performance standards when you're using the phone? So put your hands up. How many of you have a system or process for using the phone? Let's put your hands up. Those people that have got a process or system. Okay. So as I can't see anybody's hands going up there. Now that's not surprising because you're probably thinking, why do I need a process and system for making a phone call? It's simple, isn't it? Just to make a phone call. Every incoming call is a potential client. And that's why it's very important to train your staff how to answer correctly. The majority of companies are now implementing telephone standards and writing scripts to maintain constantly high levels of service, regardless who picked up the phone. Now, it may be that it's only you currently answering the phone. Yeah, but implementing standards now mean that when your business grows, you have them in place for your team in the future. So what I'm going to go through today is my 10 telephone performance standards, and I'm going to share those with you. So let's start with number one, performance standard number one. Okay, type into the chat box. Anybody got any ideas what performance standard number one is? There's a big, massive clue up on the screen now. Anybody got any ideas what that is? Be friendly. Thank you, Helen. Yeah. Answer with a smile. Exactly, Penelope. Thank you very much. The first thing we've got to do is smile. It sounds obvious, but you've got to remember to be polite. You might be having one of those days where everything seems to be going wrong and the last thing you need is your phone ringing. Then before you know it, off it goes. Yeah. In this situation, it's easy to forget your telephone manner and allow your agitation to come across over the phone. Okay. However, you can't allow this to happen. Remember, the person calling you has no idea of the kind of day you're having. And they deserve a courteous and polite reply. Okay. So remember, before you pick up the phone, put a sticker on your phone, put a big smiley sticker on your phone. So when you reach to get it, the thing that you see is this big smiley face. And you've got that trigger. Right, smile before I pick up the phone. So let's have a look at performance standard number two. So, okay, you're smiling like you mean it. What next? Okay. Anybody got any ideas? What's next? Be polite. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Even before being polite, before we do that, before we're being polite, we've actually got to answer the phone. Yeah. So there is nothing as off-putting as a phone that is allowed to ring. Answering the phone before the third ring is a sign of efficiency. Okay. So it's answer every call after the second ring. That's basically to show you're not just sitting there waiting for the phone to ring, but before the third ring. Yeah. Now, I know it sounds obvious, but you need to answer every call every time. As I say, earlier on today, I had an experience of phoning businesses where their phone just rang and rang and rang. No answer at all. Okay. Didn't even go through to an answer phone. Yeah. So failure to answer the phone will dramatically affect your customer service quality. The average caller will hang up if a call is not answered after 5 to 6 rings. So as a rule, ensure that your calls are consistently answered. When a call comes through, it shouldn't be allowed to ring more than 3 times. Prompt answering shows that you're ready to give them high quality service. Okay, so we've got those first 2 things. Smile before you pick up the phone and make sure you pick it up before the third ring. So once you answer the phone, yeah, as Helen said just now, be polite. Yeah, have a positive greeting for the caller. So, for example, you might say, "Thank you for calling. This is Simon Marshall from Action Coach. How may I help you?" And then one of the first things you do is to get to know the name of the caller. Once you know their name, use it during the course of the call. It's the one way we can easily get someone's attention. Everyone loves to hear their own name. It's also a sign of courtesy and a way of recognizing them. When someone remembers our name after meeting us, we feel respected. And more important, it makes us feel positive and gives us a positive lasting impression. And it also makes the call feel more personalized, because that's what we're looking to do. We're making them, remember what I said at the beginning, we want to make them feel great. We want to make them feel good. So from the start of the conversation, make the person feel comfortable talking to you. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've only got our voice to go on. So one of the things we need to focus on is the tone. Tone of voice is one of the most important things when answering a call. So I always try to answer in a cheerful, friendly tone, which can help open up the client. Now, it might be a cliche, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that's got a lot of truth in it. If you or one of your employees answers a customer's call in a hurried or rushed way, it'll just come across in a tone and it'll make the customer feel uneasy and like their call is an inconvenience. Yeah, as though they're bothering you. So make sure you sound focused and engaged. Yeah. And it's about providing a friendly and helpful service. After all, a call could be a new business opportunity. So look, during a phone call, the person that you're talking to can't look at you facially. Yeah, they can't look at your facial expression. They can't look at your body language. So at the moment, you can see me gesturing with my hands. You can see me if I smile. You can see the way I'm dressed. Yeah, so they can't see any of that to see if you're in a good mood or not. All they can hear is the tone of your voice. So it's the tone of your voice that informs your caller of your state of mind. And tone makes up 84% of the message on a phone call. So your tone should be polite and clear so that your caller understands what you're saying. Yeah. However, it doesn't have to be too excited. Yeah, you don't want to be too hype. Hi, how are you? You don't want any of this too excited. Yeah, it's just polite. So if you are too excited, it might come off as though you're faking it. Just keep it simple, friendly and cheerful. Let the caller know that you're happy with the business that they are giving you, and more than happy to assist that there any questions or queries that they've got. Now, the other thing to think about with this is to speak at the right pace and also to speak clearly. So never mumble. Speak clearly in a pace that is neither too fast nor too slow. Now, by mumbling, it's likely that important information or details could be misheard or completely lost in translation. It's also important to speak at a pace that is, as I say, neither too fast to the point that it's going to cause a customer to feel overwhelmed and confused, whilst also avoiding speaking too slow. Yeah, because if you're talking too slow, it doesn't paint yourself or the organisation that you're representing in the most professional manner. It may even insult a customer who might think that you're being patronising. Okay. So actually, let me share with you a couple of extra tips in relation to this point. Yeah, so it's a couple of extra bits here to go through. First thing, yeah, never expect your receptionist to screen calls. Okay, it's not their function. And also, callers can tell that they're being screened and they resent it. Yeah, it tells them that their call isn't important. Okay, they interpret this as their business or custom isn't important to you. And look, you know, I've had personal experiences with this, even to the point that people have think they've put me on hold or on mute, and they haven't. And I hear them in the background saying, "It's Simon Marshall on the phone. Do you want to speak to him?" And then they tell me, "No, the business owner's in a meeting at the moment." How does that make me feel as a customer for that business? Makes me feel that they don't want my business. Now, I said about, actually, before I move on, let me just skip back a second, because I want to share with you. Let me go back here. Oh, I've skipped quite a long way forward there. Yeah, so I said about that I wanted to share with you some other tips before we move on. Yeah, so I mentioned there about being placed on hold. So if you are going to put somebody on hold, ask them their permission to put them on hold first. Yeah, putting a caller on hold immediately after answering the phone happens a lot. Yeah, this, you know, what happens is that somebody will answer the phone and say, "Hold the line, please," and put you on hold. If you're lucky, they'll say that, or that you might just hear that they've put the phone down on the desk or something, and they're on another phone call. Okay, so businesses do this when they're swamped with calls, but nothing is more frustrating for a customer than being treated like that. So when you put somebody on hold at the start of the call, you can almost guarantee that you're going to lose their business. Yeah? So if you want to keep your customers, don't put them on hold even before you talk to them. Instead, follow say to them, so you go through the greetings, you do exactly what I've said. You pick up the phone with a smile, you pick it up within before the third ring. You're pleasant and polite. You greet them with a positive message. Ask how you can assist them. And if you need to consult before giving an answer, explain to them that you need to put them on hold to get more information. Yeah, if you put the customer on hold for more than a minute, check back with them. Okay, check back with them every so often, just to ensure that they don't feel that you've forgotten about them. Or another option here would be to connect them with someone else. So if you're really too busy to properly deal with and address their concerns, then pass them on to someone else. Okay? If you don't handle this properly, they might just hang up and never call back. Okay. Now, look, if you are really too busy, if you can't answer the phone with a smile, you can't answer it in the third ring, you can't be polite, and you're too busy to deal with them, let it go through to your voicemail. Yeah, there's nothing worse than being a phone call being dealt with incorrectly. Let it go through to your voicemail instead. And just a final tip on this, and I mentioned this earlier, never say that somebody else is in a meeting. I hear this so often, and it's so standard that in people's heads now, they think if in a caller's head, if they think that you're being told that they're in a meeting, they don't want to speak to me. So change that and say, I'm sorry, they're with someone at the moment. Okay, so never say in a meeting, just say, I'm sorry, they're with someone at the moment. Okay, let's look at performance standard number 4. So one of my favorite quotes is by Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah, and it's this quote: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah, so welcome the caller and sound as if they're all that matters at the moment. Yeah, if you're a solopreneur, it's just you. Yeah, or indeed if you were a receptionist, or if you simply just manage all the incoming calls, you might be rushed to get the caller off the line. Yeah, it might be because you need to complete another task. Now, trust me, the caller will be able to feel that. They'll get that feeling from your tone, from how hurried, the pace that you're speaking. Yeah, they can feel when you're in a hurry. Who wants to speak to somebody that makes them feel like they're a bother? Yeah, your caller should never sense that they are less important than anything else going on in your world. Okay, it's human nature to care about ourselves and how people make us feel. If the caller's next call is to your competition and your competition makes them feel more important, chances are your first impression might not have helped you win that business. Okay, so again, a very simple thing. Now, the other thing that I often find that is lacking in the way that businesses deal with their customers, and this is face-to-face as well as over the phone, but more importantly over the phone. Yeah. So a call may come through when you've got a lot on your desk. Okay, proper phone etiquette dictates that you stop doing whatever it is that you're working on and you concentrate on assisting the caller. If you don't do this, you may be distracted and not offer proper help. Even worse, a caller can tell if you're not listening, which leads to them feeling undervalued. And you've probably been on those calls as well, where you're on the telephone and you can hear somebody shuffling papers in the background or typing or something, you know, and you're imagining that they've got the phone under their chin and they're doing something as they're speaking to you. You can just tell it. You're visualizing. You can't see them, but you're visualizing in your head. So when a call comes in, practice active listening. Yeah, take notes, focus on that call, ask them questions, and respond with affirmations that you're paying attention. Yeah, just those positive strokes, just saying things like, okay, yeah, great, okay, I've got that, I understand that. Remember, people don't want to stay on the phone for long. They want to be done as quickly as possible. So active listening can help you deal with concerns on the first attempt and wrap up a call quickly. So make your caller feel valued by lending them a listening ear. Callers want to be heard. They want to know that their call matters and that you can help them. Use your active listening skills to listen to their needs. By listening attentively and providing the caller with your full attention, you give yourself a better opportunity in understanding the caller and their situation, which allows you to ask great questions, take great notes, and respond to their needs better. And once you know their needs, then you can help provide them with the solution that you've got, your product or your service. Now, Stephen Covey or Covey, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, the author of Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, said most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. So ask yourself what the caller seems to need, what's important to them, and how you can add value to them. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. So really, if you ask them a question, really listen to the answer, take notes, give positive strokes. Okay, because listening well helps match customers up with the products and services that genuinely suit their needs, rather than pushing products which the customers actually doesn't have any real use for, or they don't actually want. Yeah. Now, and this is where, sometimes salespeople get a bad reputation because they think they know what the customer wants. And they start selling things, trying to persuade customers into buying things that they don't want. And the main reason for that is because they haven't listened to them. They haven't asked the right questions to match them up with the products and services that are right for them. Now, the other thing here is to be honest with your caller. Now, it can sound like a really obvious piece of advice, but being honest is vital, yeah? And it's easily forgotten. So it doesn't make you a bad person, yeah? You might be just trying not to sound uninformed if you are asked a question and don't know the answer. Never guess or make it up. A good way to practice honesty, if you are asked something and you simply don't know the answer, is to tell them you don't know, but also what you're going to do about it. Yeah, this is about going above and beyond. Yeah, it's about going above and beyond simple phone etiquette, and it shows that you're willing to take the time to get them the correct answer. It also shows that you're trustworthy. So say something like, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Do you mind if I check with my colleague and call you back shortly? This is far better approach to take than making up an answer or giving inaccurate information. Customers are likely to appreciate and remember it, especially if you quickly follow up with the correct information. Now that brings us on to our next performance standard. Our next performance standard is about asking questions. So unless you ask the right questions, you won't uncover the right needs. Yeah? Unless you ask the right questions, you won't understand the right problems to solve. But there's an art to asking sales questions. Okay, now in my webinar in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to share with you some tips for asking more effective sales qualifying questions. But today, I'm just going to share with you one magic question. Yeah, and if you start asking this question, it will really, really help with your sales and the calls that come in. So this question, start by asking this question. Thanks for your call. Just so that I can help you best, would it be okay if I asked you a couple of questions first? Okay, that's the magic question. And then what you do is you follow that up with some other questions. Now, one of the businesses that we worked with was a tire company. They sold new tires, fitted new tires to people's cars. Okay, so and when we spoke to them, they said we're getting loads and loads of inquiries, but we're not converting those to customers. So we looked at what they did. Okay, so this is what generally happens. Somebody would call them up and they'd say, can you give me a price for this particular tire? And whoever picked up the phone would say, yeah, of course I can do that. They'd look up the price this time and say, that's X amount of money. And the person would say, thank you very much. And that was it. So they weren't getting many sales from it. Okay, so what we did with them, we worked on a script, and they had put a script in place. And this script was along the following lines. So their first question they asked was, thanks for your call. Just so that I can help you best, would it be okay if I asked you a couple of questions? Okay, now, the majority of people say, yeah, of course, that's absolutely fine. The first question they asked, okay, can I just take your name and your contact number, please? Great, okay, I've got that. Now, can I just ask, what car do you drive? And how many miles on average do you do in that car? And what type of mileage is that? Is it motorways or is it urban driving? Okay, great. Look, thank you for that. Based on what you've told me, this is the tire that I would recommend for your car. And then they told them the tire, they told them perhaps the options that they'd got. Maybe you'd think of this tire, that tire. And then they'd go into into a close. Which one do you think is best for you? And their conversion rate went up substantially just by following that process and starting off with, thanks for your call, just so that I can help you best. Would it be okay if I asked you a couple of questions first? And this can be used in any business. You know, if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant or something, you could be asking the questions that you might ask are, how many employees do you have? Or do you have an accountant at the moment? Or if you're a hairdresser, is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions first? What products do you normally use on your hair? How often do you get your hair cut or colored? Just some questions to help you suggest and recommend the best products and services for that particular client. Okay, so look, this is a really, really important bit. Yeah, this is one of the biggest things that you can think about using to your advantage. Yeah. Now, the biggest tip that I can give you is this: silence. Okay. Now, why do I suggest that? What are the benefits of silence? Yeah. So with silence, the first benefit is it builds trust. If you want to develop effective relationships, you must build trust. To build trust, you must listen. When you want to establish a relationship, you don't want to do all the talking. Yeah. So what you do is you introduce yourself, you ask questions about the other person, and then you listen. Okay. Learn about the other person. When the person realizes you're listening to them, they'll listen to you. Yeah. So that's the first benefit of silence, building trust. The second one, it emphasizes a point. If you use too many words, the point you want to make can get lost. So silence or fewer words allows you to be heard when it matters. So make your point, then silence. Let those words sink in. Wait for the other person to respond. Now, the third benefit of silence is in negotiation. So silence when negotiating can be nerve-wracking. Okay, when the other person is silent, you wonder what they might be thinking. So turn the tables. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Okay, so just use that silence. Don't try and fill the gap. Human nature is we don't like silence. So make it but don't be too hurried to fill the gap. Just let them think about what you've said. Let them think about what response they want to make. Now, most of the time, they will fill the gap. They will speak first. And that allows you to gather more information. Okay. Now, the fourth benefit of silence is that it empowers others. So good salespeople empower others. They rarely tell people what to do. Okay. What they do is they provide others with the opportunity to make the right decision and buy from them. So good salespeople want to know what other people think. So ask ask the person you're speaking to share their thoughts with you and let them speak up. Yeah, ask them what they're thinking and then silence. Let them respond. Okay. Fifth benefit of silence is to get the answer. Okay. The sooner you become silent, the quicker you will get your answer. Okay. So many people are guilty of asking a question and not stopping at the question mark. So make sure you ask a question and then stop. Don't continue with explanations or excuses or why you're asking that question, because those words then dilute your question and the power of the question is lost. The power of the message you're trying to make is watered down. So by choosing silence, you will naturally listen more and others will have the opportunity to share more. Okay. So let's move on to performance number 6. Now, never rattle on. Take it one pace at a time or you will lose your caller. Now, many salespeople have an outgoing, talkative, emotional, enthusiastic personality, and they sell in a way that feels most natural to them. Every time they get on a call, they sell in a way that they would like to be sold to without thinking twice about it. So most salespeople don't think about why they're saying what they're saying. So an outgoing, emotional personality is great when you're selling to a decision maker who also has that personality. But what if your customers are more reserved or analytical? What if they were less willing to take risk or are less optimistic? Okay, so in a few weeks' time, probably a month or so time, I'm going to run a webinar on how using the disc profiling approach to understand which personality type most closely matches you and your prospects. You'll know which strategy and presentation style to use to get the best results. Okay, so look out for that coming up. So what we're saying here in this performance standard is just give out those little pieces of information and see how people react to that. Yeah, find out if they want to talk, if they're a naturally talkative person. If they are, have a chat with them. Or if they're a very, that in the disc profiling, that would be what we call an I, high I. Or with a D is very dominant. They just want to know the answers. They want to get to things quickly. They don't want to chat. Okay, so just give out a little piece of information and see how people react. And as I say here, talk in the caller's language. Now, there's a key acronym here to think about. WIIFM. Anybody got any ideas what WIIFM means? Type it in the chat box if you've got any idea what WIIFM stands for. No? Okay, that's absolutely fine. Let me explain it. So, with the world's shift to automation, the most powerful tool you have is the power of human connection. Okay, the human voice and human connection are irreplaceable. Okay, as Celine DaCosta said, human connection is the new premium. And we're losing that connection these days. More and more things are done over social media. Okay, and we're forgetting how important it is to have human connection. So what really sets a company apart is the ability to connect and emphasize with their callers. So put yourself in the caller's shoes. How would you feel if you were going through their situation? What would you want to hear? What would make or break your experience? Or simply brighten up your day a little, okay? You'll be surprised how much the slightest thing can change the course of someone's day. So what does WIIFM stand for? What's in it for me? And that's putting yourself in the customer's shoes. That's what your customer's thinking. What's in it for me? Okay. The key is acknowledgement and reassurance. Acknowledge your caller's feelings and reassure your callers that you can see their point of view and that they're in great hands. Go above and beyond the call of duty. Yeah, now that sounds like a bit of abstract advice. Depending on the type of business you're involved in and the type of calls that you're taking, this can take many different shapes. Okay, so try and make your customers happy. Not just happy, in fact, make them ecstatic so that a memory of your service is etched into their brain. Yeah. So look, let me give you an example of this. So if a customer's called up with a complaint, don't just fix the issue, go further. Yeah. Give the solution that they're looking for. And if you're in a position to resolve the complaint, do it so quickly and efficiently. And then consider other ways in which you can help them. Yeah, maybe you give them a discount by way of an apology or other sort of financial sort of remuneration. Imagine that you're a customer in a restaurant who calls to say that they weren't happy with the meal or service. Yeah, if you're the owner and you decide to give them a refund, okay, it's going to deal with the problem, but it doesn't create a positive experience. There's a chance they will never come back. So why not provide them with a discount for their next order, or even the chance to eat there again for free? By going above and beyond and creating a positive customer experience, you can avoid that particular customer deciding not to give you their business again, or even worse, plastering all over social media how bad their experience was. Yeah, by inviting them back, you give them the opportunity to experience exactly how good you are. Yeah, so put yourself in their shoes. WIIFM, what's in it for me? So performance standard number 7. Okay, so before moving on to the next part of the call, you need to make sure the caller is satisfied with what you have given them. And this is done by checking their temperature. Okay, and I don't mean with a thermometer or something. Temperature checking your sales prospects will give you an indication of their feelings without asking for the sale. So you might ask something like this: how does that fit with what you had in mind? And then once you've done that, once you've got their feedback, you've listened to what they've had to say, you can then ask a more detailed question. Okay, and detailed question might be along the lines of using the assumptive sale. Yeah, assuming the sale. So the assumptive selling technique, also known as the presumptive close, takes place when a salesperson intentionally assumes that the customer has already said yes to the sale. So for example, an assumptive statement from the salesperson might be, great, give me a card and I'll get the paperwork started. Yeah? The entire sales process should have consisted so far of confirming and gathering agreement from the customer to verify that you were on the right track. So when it's time to close, you're simply just recapping everything that the customer's already agreed upon and what they've told you. So what you might use phrases like, like if you were a bookkeeper, and again, it's assumptive. When we do your books, or if you're a hairdresser, when we cut or color your hair, and then list the key benefits that you covered in your sales presentation, what you learned from them. When you've asked them questions like, what's important to you when somebody does your books? What's important to you when somebody cuts or colors your hair? And you're replaying that back to them. When we do your books, we will do this. When we cut or color your hair, we'll make sure we do this. Just repeating it back to them, showing that you've listened. Try to keep this to two or three, things. Because if you go too many, it'll make the decision seem bigger than it truly is. Okay, and there's a point of diminishing return on features and benefits. So avoid the trap of thinking that the more features equate to a better deal. Yeah, most customers will only use a small percentage of the available features on any product that they buy. Yeah, so if you can nail that 15%, then you're on your way to a successful close. And that's why you've asked all the questions that you've done before now, is to work out what that 15% is. Because you know the benefits that your product or service is offering that your customer's looking for. They don't want to know all the other stuff. Okay, feature the benefits that mean the most to the customer, not to you. You might think other benefits are great, but it may not be them. It may not be what they're looking for. So salespeople might be excited about new technology and go on with a customer about it, while the customer couldn't care less. Yeah, sell only the features your customer wants and then close through an assumptive sale using the words that I've just said. Now, I had an experience of this. So I went to an electrical shop. I wanted to buy a camera for my daughter for her birthday. And I spoke to this sales assistant. He knew everything there was about cameras and about how to take pictures. He knew everything there was about every single camera in the shop. And quite frankly, after about 5 minutes, I switched off. I didn't hear anything after that, because it wasn't things that I was interested in. It wasn't what I wanted the camera for. These cameras could do great, fantastic things, but it wasn't what I was interested in. So anyway, back to the assumptive close. It works well because it comes across as professional, and if it's used in the right way. Okay, and it's part of an intentional close. Yeah, so implement it effectively. Yeah, you've got to have a clear understanding of the customer's needs and desires beforehand. Yeah, so let's get that clear. You can't just use the presumptive close if you haven't gone through the other bits first. If you've listened well and matched up the customer with the perfect product or service or solution for their needs, then there's nothing more to discuss with the customer except how they're going to intend to pay for their purchase. So performance standard number 8. Okay. Now this might seem obvious, but go over what the customer is getting, what they're getting, the payment that they're making, and what happens next. And above all, confirm their details. So just reiterate what's going to happen. Right, okay, so you're buying this product or service. We're going to deliver it on this date, or we're going to call you on this day. What you'll do is you'll get an email from us confirming this, and we're going to take payment from it now, or we're going to take a deposit now, and then we'll be in contact with you. Just go over with them exactly what's going to happen. Confirm the order, but make sure you get their contact details as well. Yeah, the amount of times I've seen this with salespeople, they're so excited about making a call, about making a sale, that they don't confirm the customer's details. And when I say confirm the customer's details, it might be that they've scribbled it down at the beginning, but they just reiterate it to them. Right, so let me just check. Your telephone number is this. Oh, right, okay, I've written that down slightly wrong. Okay, great. So just go over it, make sure you've got the right information. Performance standard number 9. Anybody got any idea? Now remember, there's 10 performance standards. So we're getting towards the last ones now. What do you think performance standard number 9 it might be? Anybody got any ideas? So you've now gone through, you've taken the order, you've confirmed the details, you've told them what's going to happen next. Close note, we've already closed, Helen. We've done the close. We've reiterated what they're buying from us. Really obvious thing to do. We say thank you. We say thank you for their order, their business. Gratitude goes a long way. Let your customer know you appreciate their business. Okay? If you don't, they may just find someone else who will. Yeah, so end the call courteously, whether you helped the caller with their issue or not. Make time to end the call properly. So again, you should do this with a warm and polite manner, the way you started off the call. You want the customer to call you again for their business. So how you finish the call will determine whether there are any future interactions. Don't be in a rush to get off the phone with them. Just because if maybe they didn't buy from you, don't hurry them off the phone. Ask them if there was something else that you could do for them. Ask them if they're satisfied. Thank them for calling and wish them a great day. Yeah, so end the call as you started it off. Courteous, polite. Performance standard number 10. Anybody got any ideas? And sorry, Penelope, I've just seen you put thanks in there. So great, you were ahead of me there. Say thank you, brilliant. So anybody got any ideas what the final performance standard is? Yeah, we've said thank you to the customer. What next? What happens next? Buy, yeah, okay. So along those lines, follow through with your promise. Absolutely, always got to follow through on the promise. Look, again, extremely simple, but performance standard number 10 is this. Make sure you hang up last. Let the other customer hang up, or the caller hang up first. If you're too quick to hang up, they may think, oh, right, okay, bye then. So leave your caller on a high. Don't make the mistake of shutting off your caller. Hang around until they've hung up the phone. And then you put down your phone. Okay, so look, that's my 10 performance standards. So look, anybody got any questions? That's a new one. Okay, great. I'm glad you got something new out of it, Penelope. That's perfect. You get one great thing out of this. You've invested your time wisely. Okay, so anybody got any questions? So I've got one that came in here from Greg as we were speaking. So Greg's asked, what do you do if the potential customer says that they will think about it? Okay, look, great. So you've got to the end of the call, you've asked your questions, you've recapped, and you go to a presumptive close or assumptive close, and they've said, oh no, actually I'm going to think about it. So great question. So if you've done all the previous steps correctly, then it's less likely to happen that somebody will say, I'll think about it. But it still can, you know, these things still happen. So the main thing is to get the customer contact details. Yeah, so make sure you've got their contact details and still actually confirm their details. And the next thing is make sure that you follow up. So say something like, that's okay, I understand that. I'll give you a call in a couple of days to answer any further questions that you may have. So effectively what you're doing is you're getting their permission to call them back. Yeah. Now, research has shown that it can take on average about 4 touches before someone buys from you. Okay, so it depends on how many touches that they've had before you speak with them. So for instance, if they've looked at your website before they've given you a call, that's 1 touch. They looked at your website, you're only on the 2nd touch because you're now speaking to them. Now it could take another sort of 2 or more touches. Now obviously 4 is an average. So it may be that it's quicker. And if they've looked at your website, then you speak from them, then they buy from you. Or it could be longer than 4. But the key is to follow up. One of the biggest failures in sales is not following up. Okay, now actually let me quickly share how much time. Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes, right? So let me give an example here. So some time ago, I wanted to buy a mountain bike. Okay. And I've been having a conversation with a particular salesperson in a store over a period of time, and I was interested in buying a bike from them. And just before I was going to buy the bike, I injured my knee. Yeah. So the bike purchase was delayed. Yeah. I wasn't interested in buying the bike at that time. So the salesperson contacted me and I told them what had happened. Okay. So in a few months, once my knee had got better, etc., I was then ready to think about buying a bike again. But the salesperson hadn't kept in contact with me. They hadn't spoken to me at all or contacted me at all whilst I was injured. Yeah. Now, whilst I've been injured, I've been looking on the internet at different bikes, different brands of bikes. And I ended up buying a different brand of bike, not from that salesperson, because they didn't keep in contact with me. Okay, so long-winded answer to your question, Greg, but the thing is, make sure you take their details and make sure you follow up. Okay, you don't push them into a sale, but just follow up with them. Don't forget to follow up. Great, so let's have a look. Penelope, what have we got there? Brought up through the US style of customer service and worked in a phone answering service, but good to have it in detail. Okay, yeah, look, great, Penelope, that's absolutely right. You know, the US are fantastic at customer service. And okay, sometimes it can be cheesy, but they are great at customer service. I went to America a little while ago and got great customer service, landed back at Heathrow Airport, went to buy a coffee, and I knew I was back in England because nowhere near the same level of service. So look, let me just share with you then what we've got coming up. So as I mentioned, in a couple of weeks' time, what I'm going to do, I've covered incoming phone calls today. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to cover outgoing phone calls. So how to close more sales over the phone. That's about making phone calls out. Okay, so don't miss out on that one because there's some great techniques in there, questions that you can answer. I'm going to share with you some 6 questions that you can use all the time in a sales situation, face to face or over the phone. So make sure you register for that on hastings.actioncoach.co.uk/events. I've also got a growth club coming up on Friday. This is a 90-day planning event and it's free for first-time attendees. So if anybody on this call hasn't attended previously, we've still got a few spaces left for that this Friday. It's from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So sign up for that. Again, you can register for that on that email address. And then I've got 6 steps to a successful business coming up on Wednesday, the 6th of October. So that runs through how to create a successful business in the 6 steps for doing that. And also, if you haven't taken me up on a complimentary coaching session, book a coaching session in for me, completely complimentary. And so again, have a look at the website, booking a meeting, and you can book in a complimentary coaching session just to see if coaching is for you. So that's it for today, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate that. I feel rather stupid just standing here doing it to myself. So it's great that you've turned up to pick up some tips and techniques on about using the phone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to speaking to you or seeing you all soon.